Hey everyone, today in this video I'm going to be doing an exclusive reveal of a new weapon for Harec, the Easter egg. And special thanks to MercurySteam for letting me do this reveal and choosing me to do it. I appreciate it a lot, guys. But without further ado, let's have a look at the weapon in question. So the gun has 2 fire modes and 45 ammo maximum. The first fire mode is similar to Harec's other guns, but with a really slow fire rate. So this is the normal gunshot that you get on the gun. And this is the grenade mode. The grenade mode fires an explosive grenade at where you're aiming, where it sticks to any wall or floor and hits, and then it primes itself after half a second or so. If an enemy then walks onto the mine or into its area, it explodes, dealing damage several times over the next few seconds. If you hit an enemy directly with the mine, it'll be guaranteed to drop at their feet and explode on them, providing the enemy doesn't move out of the way in that time. Anyway, let's have a look at the weapon stats now. Firstly, we have Caliber for increased damage percentage, Lethal for increased critical damage, Effective for increased critical chance, and Treasure Hunter for increased chance of acquiring blueprints and experience boost drops. Now the way I would build the weapon would be to max Caliber and Effective and put the rest into Lethal, so you're maximizing the critical chance and the normal damage, and the rest going into the critical damage. So here's the thing about the weapon. I tested it extensively on all the bosses and different types of enemies, and I came to the conclusion that the grenade mode works a lot like Schneider's killable weapon. You can't damage enemies that don't have a wall or floor surfaces near them because the mines won't stick close to them and explode on them. So you can see here, Schneider, this boss, you can hit him and the mine will drop to the floor and blow up on his legs. It also works for Kuzman because he walks around on the floor, but the weapon lacks damage on bosses like Marmalade, Aneska, and the 5th Council who are far away from surfaces so that the mine can't stick to them. For these kind of bosses, and any enemies that are aerial as well, you can just use the normal fire shot mode. You can see in this clip, I shoot Schneider, and it only does a pathetic 31 damage. But at least the option is there, because with the Schneider's killer ball, you'd be stuck using the laser pointer instead. The weapon mostly excels at hitting mobs of enemies when they group up, due to the explosion range of the mines. As for different types of enemies, firstly, you can't actually proc your mines to explode on the enemy mines in the 5th Council campaigns. It's good for killing the little miners, the bugs that drop the mines, but you can't actually destroy the mines that they drop with yours. Drones will move out of the way of your mine if you shoot them directly, so you actually have to put it a little further up their path if they're moving, but they're definitely susceptible to the explosive damage and you can kill them pretty quickly on those missions. And Beholders? Well, just like the killer ball, you can't hit them with the mine's explosion because they aren't ever near surfaces to stick the mines to anyway. In the meantime, you're gonna have to use your normal fire mode. But now, I bet there's a question on a lot of people's minds. How does the weapon fare in PvP against other players? Well, let me show you. So that just about covers the majority of the reveal with the basics of the weapon. Now I'm going to move on to some tips and tricks for the weapon because I think it might help people decide if they actually want to invest up to 90,000 gold into this rare weapon. So, tips and tricks. I mentioned before that if you hit an enemy with a mine shot, it will drop to their feet and explode, providing they do not move out of the way before the explosion occurs. Also, the shot that fires the mine itself does a bit of damage too, which can be useful in applying just that last bit of damage to an enemy if needed. The weapon works best against enemies hiding in cover, which your stalk ability as Harec lets you reposition yourself behind enemies, drop off a mine or two, wait for the mine to explode, and then go back to the place that you stalked from originally. Moving enemies such as antagonists give you a hard time, however, because if you shoot them with the mine, they've already moved out of the way. What you have to do is you have to track their movement ahead of time and fire in front of them, so the mine primes and explodes on time when the antagonist or fast moving enemy walks into it. You can see here against the Harec antag that he walked into the mine I put in front of his path. The normal fire mode is also quite weak at lower forge levels. It starts getting better when I got my one at forge level 20 because the critical hit chance went to 45%, which lets you hit crits in exceeds of 800 damage when it's fully charged and headshots enemies. Anyway, what do I think about the weapon? Well, I usually play Ignis Fugit Harec. That's a bit of a quickscope headshot type of weapon character. So it was really weird to switch up my playstyle to accommodate this different type of weapon. After playing it for several days straight and getting no sleep whatsoever, I came to the conclusion that I actually really like this weapon. The normal shot mode is weaker and slower than his other guns, but that's fine because you're supposed to focus on the mine mode instead. I also think this really helps console players that were previously put off by the idea of having to play a headshot sniper when they pick Harec. Now their shots won't be so reliant on accuracy and precision, and instead they'll be rewarded for cleverly playing around with the mines and placing them in strategic points. Overall, I really like the addition of this weapon, and I think I might be choosing it a lot more over Ignis Fugit now because it's also really just fun to play with. Having explosive weapons in this game is quite fun because there aren't many others like it. Well, thanks for making it this far in the video. I'd like to give a special thanks to MercurySteam for reaching out to me to do this exclusive reveal, and I hope everyone enjoyed the video. And I'm actually going to leave a link to Mika's comic in the description, because it actually describes what happens to the guy who used to own the Easter egg before Harec found it. But anyway, thanks for watching everyone, and until next time, see you guys.